Okay, now let's show you how to change the cable on a twist grip shifter that's a Shimano type. It's a little different than the micro shift. We need a couple of extra tools. So first thing I'm going to do is get access to the rear end again by tilting this up on the handlebars with it grips. With my 2mm wrench, and this in first gear, I'm going to insert my 2mm wrench there. I'm going to lift this down and release the clamping screw from the little cam holder right there. Alright, I can let this go. Alright, now you'll notice on this particular one we have a aluminum piece on the end that I'm going to straighten out so I can take that off. I have a clamping screw just like I showed you before, and we're going to hold that with the pliers there, a 10mm wrench or an adjustable here. Open that screw a little bit to loosen it, and then slide this off the cable. Slide it off the cable, he says. Why isn't that sliding off the cable? There we go. Okay. And on this particular type of shifter, we have a different arrangement at the very end. We have, instead of the cable housing just ending there, we have now a rubber piece and a bellows in here that protects the cable a little bit. So I'm going to pull this down to release it from the shift arm there. And now I'm going to slide this up and off of the cable. Alright, now we're left with the same piece that we saw before. There's the cable housing, the end piece ferrule, and the cable. Now I'm going to lift the StreetStrider back up again so we can pull the cable out from the other side. Alright, so the cable's loose on the hub side. Now I can pull this housing down and we can actually see the cable here. Now to take the cable out of the Shimano twist grip shifter, there's a little plastic plate on this end, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to, let me turn this way so you can see it better. We've got to take a little piece, we've got to take this little plastic piece off here. Now to get that plastic piece off so we can get the cable out, requires us to have a small Phillips head screw driver to take that little screw out right there. Okay, we're going to take out this little Phillips head screw right there, and I'm going to grip it with my fingers so we don't lose it. There's a little Phillips head screw. Put that in a safe place. And now this little plastic piece comes off just like that. That's the little housing. There's where our screw went through. Okay, now what you notice if you look down in this direction and come around maybe from this angle is that there's the end of the cable right there. So what we have to do is push the cable up like that and pull this out with a small bladed screwdriver. Just like that. The cable will come out that way. There it is. And now we can pull that cable all the way through. There's the end of the cable. And there it comes through, like that. Alright, now to put a new cable in, we're going to reverse that process. Okay, so you insert the cable in there until it goes through the little hole, and it's going to come out the other side over here. I'm going to give it a little help to get around this turn. Okay, cable comes out like that. there's a little plastic piece that sits right in there. There's a little plastic runner piece right there. Make sure that that stays there. And then this cable is going to go down inside the adjuster nut right there and come out the bottom. All right, so we threaded our cable into the hole on this side over here, over top of this little plastic runner piece right there, and then down into the hole, and that's the adjuster nut right there. You can see it turning when I do this. Okay, and out the adjuster nut. So I'm going to pull the cable all the way through again. And this little end piece here, right here, is going to go back down inside the little cavity that we pulled it out of. Help it just like that. Okay, the cable's in all the way. All right, it's in there through this little runner piece. Make sure that little runner piece stays in position. Like that. When we have the cable in there, make sure that this little plastic guide right there is sitting in there properly. It's got a little edge here and a keyway that fits onto that housing right there. When we put the housing piece back on, it holds that little guide there in position. Okay, so we have the cable all the way through. I'm going to put the cable now back through the housing. Right, so it slides in that way. And once again, this goes all the way through, just like we did before, until it comes out the other end. A little bit at a time so we don't kink the cable. Okay, with the cable almost all the way into the housing this way, it has to have come out the other end already. So I'm going to set the housing in there, and then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to make sure that this cable is all the way out. Okay, so it's all the way out. All the way out there. Okay. Now what we can do is go ahead and put our plastic cover back on again. Here's our plastic cover. We're going to set that back on again, and it fits right in place like that. Then we're going to take this little Phillips head screw and we're going to insert that right into the hole. And secure that little plastic cover. Alright, all done up here. The only thing left to do now is to work on the hub side. Okay, so I'm going to tip this up on its end again. And then concentrate on this. We're in first gear. We have this cable pulled out. Now we have to insert it back through this rubber piece. It goes in this way. Have to find the hole inside to push it through. There it goes. I use a little screwing action so I don't cause the cable to come out in any other direction. There's the cable coming through there. Pull this bell housing or this bellows down, not bell housing. Shove that onto the ferrule as far as it'll go, like that. Okay. Pull this out. Now we're going to put our clamping screw back on again, and we're going to measure. And this time we're going to measure from this edge of this hard plastic piece here to the clamping screw, and that's going to be 127 millimeters. Our clamping screw goes on. Same method as before, through the little hole. comes out the other side. Right there. And move this into position. At that point, now we're going to get our ruler. And measure this. And it's got to be 127 millimeters this time. So the cable's all the way out. This is all the way tight. We're in first gear. So we're not quite at 127. We're about 116. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. About a centimeter. Tighten it with my fingers a little bit. Straighten out that cable just a bit. Measure it again. Right there. Real close. Maybe just a tad adjustment. Check it one more time. Right there. About 125, 126. Close to 127. All right. Now, without disturbing that, gotta tighten this nut. Put our little cable end piece on and crimp it so it doesn't come off. All right, with our 2mm wrench, we're going to pull this around like that and insert our clamping screw back into that slot. Allow this to move back up. Now we're going to pull this down and insert that right into the arm with the cassette pulley so that fits up in there tight. Make sure our cable's in there. Now we're going to check. We're in first gear. We're going to check with fourth gear and make sure those two yellow lines line up. There's fourth gear. And the yellow lines are very close. All right. If we need to make an adjustment again, we come down here for fine tuning and we adjust this little screw right here. And that will allow us to get fine tuned to make sure that those fit perfectly, align perfectly at fourth gear. All right. So we've just replaced the cable of a twist grip shifter from a micro shift shifter and a Shimano shifter with both end pieces and showing you how easy that can be done. All right. See you next time at StreetStrider Workshop.